Weissman.
All right, guys, welcome back. We're with Peter Adkison. Hey, Peter.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, guys. So we are doing a deck tech video. We just had a match with Brian Weissman and Peter Adkison.
Yeah.
Basically,
right.
Brian, no, you kicked his butt too. Turn one, right?
I know, yeah, but he won the match, right?
Yeah, won the match.
Yeah, he won the coin cost.
Now, in all seriousness, if Peter went first on that third game, you would not have turn one.
I would have won. He deserves to win because I would not have won on, but not have done a turn one kill during the third game if I would have won, if I'd have gone first.
All right, so here's Peter's deck. Peter, why don't you talk?
Explain why?
Okay, let's talk about this deck. This is incredible.
Okay, so I built this deck in 1993. It was really, I've always loved the idea of taking another turn. I mean, this just goes back to, there was an old board game called Kingmaker, and in Kingmaker, it had a card, a free turn, and I love that mechanic, right? So with Magic, I really wanted to do a deck based around Time Walk. So Time Walk is the important card in this. Ancestral Recall is required for drawing more cards, so you have more chance of getting your Time Walks, and of course your Lotuses and your Moxes are going to give you your mana.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Time
6,
Twister 7. Is really good.
8 Lotuses.
The Ancestral serves basically the same role as Ancestral Recall, gives you access to more cards, and then the Juggernauts for damage. But the cards but the problem with the deck right now is it has too many Juggernauts.
You think so? Yeah.
I think it only need 4. My original version only had 4. This deck was out of my hands for a while, and it shifted a little bit in content. And I don't know what these 3 cards are doing in here.
Thanks, Dad.
Those should not be in
It's called Sabotage. Well,
yeah. And if I had to do it right now, if I was going to change, I'd just take these 5 cards out and replace them with Ancestral Recall.
Yeah. Okay, so your dad. So back to the other video, Peter. Your dad kept his deck away from you.
Yeah. So I built this deck in '93. Once in a while you take it out and show people it, and then around the year 2000 the deck just disappeared, and I thought I'd lost it, somebody had stolen it or something like that, right?
Can you imagine
that? And then about 3 years ago, 15 years later, my dad comes up and he even put it in a little box with nice D&D logo, D&D art on the front, right?
Think of the percentage of the global Alpha Black Lotuses that were just out of circulation for the span. Right?
It's all your fault, Peter. It was all your fault.
There's only, according to most accounts, there are around 1,000 originally printed Alpha Black Lotuses ever from the beginning of time, and that doesn't account for all the ones that were destroyed from people losing them or playing with them until they fell apart.
So let's say 1,000, 110. So 10 of them would be 1%. 10 of them. We almost got 1% of them right here.
We have more. We're actually well over 1% of the global Alpha Black Lotuses on this table, but even in just one deck.
Right. Oh, that's crazy.
7. There's 7 of them.
I did give it. So my dad.
Your
3
dad
years ago. The punchline is my dad. I'm down at his place. My dad brings out this deck. He says, "Son, I think you're finally responsible enough to have this deck." He had taken it from me for safekeeping until I grew up a little bit more. And
thanks, Dad.
Yeah, of course.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
So you know what's really funny about this logic is that you in '93 designed this deck. You actually would replace this with Ancestral. If you look at this Blue VISE deck, minus this Hill Giant.
Well, this could be Juggernauts.
Yeah, whatever.
This is how you're doing it.
It could be anything.
You need some way,
it could be anything.
Well, it could be
this is where my thinking was narrower than what you came up with the Black VISE idea. Is that I didn't even think of that. It's like Juggernauts to do damage and Time Walk.
But the point is that you enjoyed, as you said, you enjoy taking extra turns.
I love taking.
So if you're taking extra turns, you need a creature. You can take all the turns in the world. If you're killing with Black VISE, that doesn't work, right? You need to let them go.
You take extra turns, but you get the Juggernauts out there because Juggernauts are a really cool creature. I love Juggernauts.
It was one of your favorites.
They're timeless. They're just a class.
Timeless. It's such a the artwork on it is so
can't be blocked by walls, and they have to attack. I mean,
the Juggernaut looks like Chucky.
Yeah, they're great.
Thing on top of
There's just something fun about the Juggernauts. Right?
So if you look at the Blue VISE deck, well, minus these.
Well, and it's 5 divides nicely into 20.
Oh, it's very elegant bites of their face.
Yeah. So you just gotta hit them four times.
So this was the original WinCon.
Yeah. So that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
So basically, ours was a little bit more fast and furious, ancestral. But what's interesting here is Peter has 5 Ancestrals. We're 5 of these cards. Makes 10 Ancestrals. In a weird way, Peter, It's very similar to this deck.
Yeah.
You just have one more Lotus.
The same number of time walks as well? 6?
6, yeah. We have
6.
Yeah. You know what's funny is he has 8 Lotuses versus
and we have 4 time
7.
twisters.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to fill your hand with. I mean, you know, the time twisters are nice. I don't know that
they're just they're another level of redundancy. These become much more important when you have only 5 of these.
Yeah, exactly. You just need ways to draw more cards.
9 sapphires versus 8.
Cheaper. Really.
Oh, cheap.
Yeah. It's a fast card.
I mean, with all this, you
Peter, did you say cheaper for all the?
Not
Peter,
price. I don't think about that. I'm talking about mana, like mana card. That's what's
Peter, the value of this entire thing here is $1 million now.
$1 million? Yeah. Way beyond that. There are, how many Alpha Black Lotuses are on this table?
There's
14?
7. There's 14. Oh my god.
Wait, this is not Alpha.
No,
yeah.
You have
7. I think a couple of these might be. This one might be beta.
Oh, is there a beta in there?
That might be beta.
Fine, we can cut that.
There are only.
We could trim that.
Get rid of that piece of garbage. There's only 6.
If you want,
there's only 6 here.
Forget
and
that.
7
What
here.
is that?
13.
This proxy stuff.
13 Alpha Black Lotuses. It looks like not all this. This is a beta sapphire. That's a beta sapphire.
Who cares? It's the ideas there. The ideas there. All right, so that was the deck tech. Peter, this is a very, what's interesting about this, it's very similar to what we were doing. And we were sitting in Gothenburg, if you watch the videos, guys, we actually thought that this deck was the first of its kind. Absolutely. And we were actually absolutely wrong. We were wrong.
I'm utterly stunned about that.
I'm stunned.
If my dad hadn't protected the deck, then maybe it would have been released years earlier, right?
Yeah, or it would have been broken up into components and
that's probably what would
spread out across the globe, right?
Yeah, if somebody stole it, they would have sold it for parts.
Yeah, they would have sold it. They would have scrapped it for parts. But the fact, it is truly remarkable, though, that this deck existed all the way back in 1993, completely in defiance of what I was saying on camera when we were in Gothenburg.
Yeah, this is the amazing.
There's no way that it could have existed up until the advent of the internet and the ability to consolidate power. I never would have thought that the guy that actually oversaw the original printing of Alpha might have actually kept those cards and kept a deck from that era and understood it well enough.
I had to go out and trade to buy these cards.
So it wasn't easy.
Period.
It wasn't
in that period. It wasn't that hard.
You're right, because you weren't just sitting. You weren't sitting gleefully in your bedroom, opening up half of the beta Alpha print run.
No,
right?
Exactly.
I got my. You kind of had to run a business and sell it.
I had the same rules as every other employee. I got one free box, and then you got to go out and trade for the rest. Or
it's really interesting because people have this, I think, misconception about the early print runs of the game that you guys were purposefully throttling the supply somehow.
They thought that even at the time they thought we were doing.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And apparently, based on what I read in that book, that it was entirely just you guys spent every last penny you possibly could printing cards.
There were 2 constraints. Both of which were equally weighty. One was having enough cash to be able to buy print runs. How much can you afford to spend?
Yes.
Okay, and there were times where that was the limit. And the other was knowing that, what is the size of the market? When you're printing a product that is growing quickly and the demand is skyrocketing, you're trying to anticipate several months ahead of time. Okay, what is the demand going to be for that product? And so, like when we printed 5,000 Arabian Nights cards, we were like, is that too many? We're going to flood the market with Arabian Nights cards. Well, of course it wasn't too many. It was, and then by the time. Then Antiquities was 15 million cards, and then Legends I think was 45 million cards, and then I think the Dark was 60 million.
Let's go crazy and 400 million Fallen Empires cards.
We can talk about that. We can have another show.
Yeah, let's have a show about that.
But it was never. We didn't like having everybody yell at us about not getting enough cards, and we certainly didn't like to see gamers who are the fans who wanted to play the game not being able to get enough cards. Yeah, no, that was never by design to short the market.
Yeah, my entire experience, I started playing the game in mid-January 1994, and my entire experience with card supply was just famine. You could not find it anywhere. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what your resources were. You just could not find cards to buy.
It was heartbreaking to hear that. And I understand why people. I do understand that there were positive effects that came out of that, and the perception of rarity and the actual rarity. But that was never by design, and it was heartbreaking to hear stories of people who wanted to play their game and couldn't get cards. Just heartbreaking.
It's interesting also that there was precipitous dropping off of power level right in conjunction with a giant boosting of supply too. That the first set that was really mass produced, that felt mass produced, was also by far the weakest set that the company had made.
Which set?
I'm talking about Fallen Empires.
Oh, okay.
That Fallen Empires was the very first time, and you can literally still buy packs of Fallen Empires 25 years later almost for practically retail price still to this day. Yeah. I mean, maybe they've gone up a little bit, but I know recently going into shops and seeing Fallen Empires packs for $2.50 or something.
Right.
In 2015.
Right.
So that's. But it correlated also to the fact that Fallen Empires is objectively a much weaker set than the sets that preceded it. Dark was definitely walking in that direction. Mm-hmm. You went from Legends, which had tremendous power level. The rares and some of the uncommons of Legends are insanely powerful. And then you have this huge falling off of power level in the Dark, with a few notable exceptions. But it was perceived as being a much weaker set, and then suddenly you have this massive glut of this horrible set in terms of power level in Fallen Empires, and then Homelands comes on the heels of that, massively overprinted and by far the weakest set ever made. And you're kind of looking at that and going, how did the game even survive that period?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, what's going to happen is we're going to do a video about a Q&A and Gen Con. No, actually, I actually got to feed the meter. Oh. So, guys, thanks again for watching. We got Brian Weissman. Peter, thank you again.
Yes.
All right, we got a Gen Con, all about Gen Con. Everything you want to know about Gen Con, the history, why it exists and everything. I want to do a nice Q&A about that. Sure. Right. That'll be our final video for today. I'm going to go feed the meter in Seattle. It's like $60 for like a parking ticket now. Screw that. Here. All right, guys.
Here, go pay for it with that.
He's just drooling again. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.